Hello and welcome, I'm Jez.
And I'm Wally, and welcome back to We Should Run The AFL.
So, how's your week been?
Week been's great, but before we do that, on next week's episode, we're going to be talking about stats.
That's right, and a couple of things we're going to discuss are things like stats for kick-ins.
Yeah, should you get a stat if you play from a kick-in, or even if you just kick him from the square? Do they get a stat if you kick him from the square? Or only if you
I think you have to play on.
We
might have to research that.
we are going to be getting better at research, and the other stat we thought was about disposal efficiency. It's confused us a bit, so we're going to research that and talk around that. But I've been good. Thank you very much, Jez. It's been a good week. The highlight was probably listening to this episode.
How many times did you listen to it?
Too many. We're going to be a lot shorter and sharper this week, but it was great to do last week. Listen to it, see how we went, and then go, okay, we're going to get tighter and sharper each time.
Yes, absolutely. And
maybe.
Hopefully there won't be any more drinking incidents as well. But no, looking forward to this week. Got lots of fun things to discuss.
We have.
As always. We've been discussing them a bit off camera.
Yep, ways that we think. Basically, if it's the first time you've listened, we're looking at ways that we think the AFL could be even better. We love it. We love footy. We love AFL. But ways we reckon it could be improved even more and become even more the best sport in the universe.
Yes, so, said last week that there's no need to subscribe, but of course we would love it if you did subscribe, just so that you are aware of when each of our episodes drops.
That's right, because it may not be consistent. It won't be consistent on the same day each week. We are looking at doing one a week, so it's going to depend when we can catch up and when we can do it. But yeah, really excited. We are going to firstly do a little recap. During the season, we're going to do a recap of the round that's just gone by, which will be awesome. We're both busting for footy to start, but this week, I want to review last week's episode a little bit where we were talking about the rules and deliberate out of bounds and the AFLW. And if you had listened to it, when we discussed it, we didn't know what we were talking about.
We don't know that much more now, to be honest.
We don't. Well, because we've actually got the computer here. We've got the actual rule on the AFL website. And because we weren't sure, we knew if you kicked it out of bounds, last kick out of bounds between the arcs is a free kick to the other team. We're like, what if you punch it out, if it's handball, all that sort of stuff. This is what they say. For AFLW, last disposal between the arcs. If the ball goes out of bounds between the forward and defensive 50-metre arcs as a result of a kick or a handball, the opposing team will receive a free kick where the ball crossed the line. If it's not clear who touched the ball last, it's thrown in. This rule was introduced to reduce congestion and secondary stoppages. So we still kind of don't know if it's punched off the ground, if it's deliberate.
And the interesting thing also in the rules that they've got on the site here is that there's nothing about deliberate.
Nothing about deliberate. Yeah.
So I haven't watched enough AFLW to know if deliberate is even considered to be
We're going to get on
game. So
we're going to get on. We're going to watch it more. And I've watched a fair bit, but never really watched it with a view to seeing how the rules were different. So it'll be fascinating to watch it. So we're excited about that. So that's our review of last week. Also, we talked for a long time last week.
A long time.
We actually got off the episode and we're like, that was 20 minutes. Then we looked at it and it was 37. So, yeah. So we're getting onto today's topics. What's the first thing we're going to talk about, Jez?
So today the very first topic is probably your favourite, your number one topic that you have been busting your gut to talk about. And that is strength. It's running off after a goal. So when somebody kicks a goal and then they run off the ground for whatever reason it may be, we don't know why that happens. And so we'd like to discuss that, obviously.
Yeah. And
our second topic is, in a nutshell, strength contest. Try and say that 10 times as fast as you can. So just basically, we're talking about it, I suppose, specifically around like a full forward and full back, taking us back to our youth and thinking back to like the 80s and 90s when you had, players like Silvani and Lockett and Dunstall and these guys all, wrestling in the goal square. But it doesn't have to be just for those positions.
No. Well, we're sort of into that. Let's talk about
that. With everything, we'll do everything in the wrong order.
As it goes, exactly. Because, just that idea that the ball's coming in high, the full back and the full forward are like wrestling and on each other, and now you wrap your arms around them, it's a free kick, and you touch them in the back, it's a free kick, and things like that. You tap their arms, it's a free kick. And we were just kind of saying that they're trying to make the game faster, they're trying to make the game more interesting. That one-on-one test of strength where I reckon just let them go at it, like just holding and scragging and all that sort of stuff, and just see what happens, and just let them. And then it does become a test of strength and skill. But as we were saying earlier before we came on, it might introduce more leading and more space there, so that you don't get that thing if the fullback's stronger.
And it extends further into another topic that we weren't planning on discussing today, but
this could go for 47 minutes,
and that is the boundary ruck contest, for example.
Yeah.
Where sometimes a ruckman is penalised for just being stronger.
Yeah, because they are wrestling, and in that they're allowed to be pressing in and holding each other and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. Someone gets pushed aside, and it's a free kick to the person who gets pushed just because they're not as strong.
Yeah,
like, it's bizarre.
It's just they just need to be in the gym a bit more in the pre-season. To be honest, like it's almost like sort of suggests the less you work out, the better it is for you on a game.
Yeah.
Game day and in a game.
Exactly. So that could be fascinating in those, and around the ground, but especially in those forward ones, where even, and I think almost take it to the extreme, where you can throw them to the ground. Like if you're good enough and strong enough to do that and then actually take the mark as well, just go for it. Like I reckon that would bring so much excitement back into those contests.
Absolutely. I think there has to be a bit of a line though, potentially, like...
Nah.
With the throw. No, if they're grabbing them by the jumper and pulling them back, I know you like it. For me, that's like, well, then you got one set of rules for one situation, but not for others. And then I think, for me, the whole thing was to try and reduce the amount of grey area and keep it as black and white as possible. So I'm all for it, but I think if there's pulling people back by their jumpers or whatever, and something that would be illegal in any other situation, I don't know how much I'm for it, but we don't have to agree on everything.
I think we rule pretty much, and I think just marking contests and anywhere on the ground as well. Like you don't want any differences if it's in the midfield or the goal square or whatever. But yeah, I think, and that's where I think it takes the black and white. And you still, maybe it's still like a tackle. You can't go above the shoulders, below the knees or below the hips. Below the knees or hips?
Knees.
Thank you. I suddenly had a panic, although it isn't below there.
It's belly button to hips.
It's belly button. That's what gotcha. So yeah, if you can't grab them around the head, or and you obviously can't hit and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of think that's scragging where you are pulling on it, and again, often they'll pull on their jumper, and these days as well, it's the tiniest little little thing, and the tiniest tap on the wrist, and it's like. All that gets taken out of it. You can do it. Whack their arms, do that. Yeah. And if you're strong enough like they used to be, to still have your arms out, get hit on the side of the arm and take the mark, that's awesome. Like, that's kind of thrilling to watch.
So the chopping the arms then, so just to get it clear in my head and hopefully for everybody else, it's in a marking contest, it's okay. But if a player's on a lead and there's a defender trailing them and then they just come in and they chop their arm down, two separate situations?
Nah. Same. Still a marking contest.
Still a marking contest?
A marking contest, yep.
Okay.
Lead in the square, anything.
So chopping the arm. So if we were to extend last week's remove sort of rule, that's another rule you'd like to remove is chopping the arms?
I think so, because I think sometimes that you see it, they're literally just getting tapped just above the shoulder. It's not even affecting the marking contest. I just think it just becomes... It changes the game a lot, I think, and it takes the extent. You feel everyone go, and it's like we don't want that. We want that thing of
So playing devil's advocate,
go.
Would it then open it up to the defensive player in those situations? I'm just going to chop the arm every single time.
Yeah.
And it's not like often when they're spoiling and they chop the arm, they're not necessarily trying to chop the arm. They're trying to spoil, but this time they're just really whack their arm as hard as they can. And I know you've seen those.
Yeah. But then again, I think you can't punch. Like if it's an obvious punch of the arms, like it might be that you've got to be like, and often they are going to spoil the ball. It's got to be like a legitimate attempt, and I think you'll be able to tell.
Yeah,
and that's the sort of thing where we're able to tell that. I think in the one-on-one wrestling contest, I think the chopping of the arms will rarely happen in that because they'll be more concerned with the wrestling anyway. So, but on the lead, it'd be interesting.
Well, do you think it could be sort of limited to inside the 50-metre arcs?
Maybe, yeah.
So then it's more to do with the forwards and the backs as opposed to just midfielders around the ground. Everybody's just chopping arms. So there's no more marks in the game.
But I reckon it wouldn't happen as much as we think.
Probably not. But...
And also, because I think a lot of the around the ground, it's kicking to someone 15 metres in the clear anyway, so I think it sort of doesn't matter. And I feel like the chopping the arms gets paid less around the ground anyway.
Everything gets paid less around the ground.
Right. Well, even when you get like in that idea of like round the neck, if someone's on the ground on the ball, you can get them in a headlock, and the umpire goes ball up.
Yeah.
So you can just do anything to them on the ground. So I think it does change. So, and that's a big thing, that consistency. So yeah, I reckon go the chop, and maybe you can't. Yeah, maybe it can't be the punch arms if you're trying to punch the ball. But if the ball's there and you're just punching them in there, then I think that's
it can't be beyond the elbow.
All right. Yeah.
With the chopping part.
Yeah. Like a
like it makes us smart.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Sort of that. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Awesome. Bring the strength back. Because they always want to bring back the contests and that.
Yeah.
But then you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, so they're taking away the contest as well. So we reckon that would improve the AFL, just to bring back that. And again, maybe there should be limits, maybe not, but just to bring back that strength contest and allow them to, like I remember times, well, again, being Collingwood fans and everything, Peter Dacos, where someone would be scragging him, and he would take a one-hander. And it's like, that's the best mark ever.
And when you were a kid, like you were kicking, I remember kicking in the street, and someone kicked the ball to you, and you pretend your arms being held,
hold them out.
Dacos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't even happen anymore.
No,
it's
true.
Where can they be go? Okay.
And so, any comments you've got, feel free to leave them below. I think it's below.
In
YouTube,
YouTube or Spotify, you can do comments.
And also, you can send us an email at weshouldruntheafl@gmail.com. And we've got a website, and I can't remember the URL for it because it's some new sort of weshouldruntheafl dot something. So don't worry about that for now. We will, get more professional week by week. maybe I'll put it down below on the screen, so we'll be even more professional than we even realised we could be.
Link is in the description.
Not even description. It's going to be actually on the bottom of the screen.
Oh.
It's there right now.
Right, it's there right now. Amazing. We still don't know what it is. Beautiful.
So,
all right.
So if anyone else out there knows what it is, let us know as well.
Exactly. So topic 2. That's good. I love that. And that's the sort of thing. This is what we love about this. If we're chatting on the phone, we would actually talk about just that for an hour. But we're gonna stop it there and just both reckon that it should be brought back.
And just on that, also just saying how to send us comments. But if there's a topic that you would like us to discuss, or if you would like to discuss it and come on the podcast with us, we're up for that as well.
100%.
So send it through and come and join us. So we want to open this up and get more and more people involved. So but anyway, moving on to the next topic, which is, are you ready for this? You've been waiting for this for months now.
Man. And speaking of chatting on the phone, I think I bring it up every third phone call as well.
Second.
Yeah. It's the idea that you see players, they'll kick a goal and they'll run off. And not even, we've written little notes, they'll run off. They don't run off. Sometimes they sprint off, high-fiving people as they go. And it's like, well, if they're going off for a rest, they're expending more energy running off the ground than they did actually kicking the goal. Right? And high-fiving, big high-fives. And we're just not sure why they go off. And memories of players who kick 3 goals in 3 minutes because they start. And again, it's like, once you kick the goal, you're often the most pumped up person on the ground.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, whoever it was, I'd almost, not maybe not a full forward, but like if it's a smaller forward or a smaller, I'd whack them in the centre bounce because they're the ones that are pumped up. They're going to be in there and going for it. So, and if they go off, I mean, we would love if anyone who's a sports scientist, a coach who's worked at an AFL club. I don't know if it happens at lower levels, but certainly if they work in an AFL club, if you can explain why they run off.
Just why?
Just why? Is it to get a message from the coach? What are they going to say? Well done.
And then we've got runners anyway. They're going to come out after a stoppage like a goal anyway. So.
Yeah. And people will say, oh, but they're due for a break. Like they've got to play their 75% game time, whatever it is. They're due for a break. But you can't tell me that it's that coincidence. Yeah. Just that moment when they can, look at the time. Time to take a break. And sometimes
they've got to kick the goals then, otherwise I would have gone off without.
Exactly. And you'll get sometimes a player will run and take 3 bounces and run 50 metres or wherever they run, and then get a handball back, run again, kick to someone in the lead. Well, not even the lead, someone just standing there. They mark it, kick the goal, and they go off. The other guy's just flopped on the ground, exhausted. So we just don't know why.
No, and we'd love to know why. It's been driving us insane, to be honest, for a long time. Yeah. And it just doesn't make sense that it's their time to come off.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it can't be that after you kick a goal, you get a rest. Like, that's your reward.
Yeah. That's not the reward.
That's actually penalising the team.
Yeah.
Really, I think. I think that, like you're saying, that player's all pumped up, but their confidence is up. They'll be wanting to go out there and kick another one. So they're sitting on the pine, just catching their breath, just from running off, not from the actual play.
And then sometimes that thing happens where the play's on the wrong side. I still don't really understand this, but the play's on the wrong side of the ground, so they can't get back on either.
Yeah.
And so they kicked a goal. They might not get back on for 8 minutes. It's like, well, then any momentum is gone.
And that's probably a topic we could discuss for a whole episode, because that's that whole thing of managing your time and your interchanges, and we had to learn as Collins supporters. We had to learn that, or the team had to learn that from was it the previous year? Was it 2022 when we had an issue? So in 2023 they made sure that players like to go in that and Dacos were on the field when in the last few minutes of finals, so they weren't caught in that situation again. And
well, it did happen to Degoe against GWS in the prelim, where he was best on ground in 23. But was off for the last 8 minutes and couldn't get back on the ground when it was 1 point the difference, and they're trying to save the game.
Yeah, okay, so
it happened then, and so and you see it happening quite a bit, and but anyway, that's
what I'm talking about. But it's just that whole thing of managing the interchange and how that connects to running off after a goal, and if it does, maybe it's just an assumption that we have that it's something to do with that there's the sports scientists saying it's their time to come off and have a break, or I can't think what other reasons there could be.
No, it's really interesting, and we think it must be. And then things like last year, there was a couple. I think it was Errol Goulden and then Nick Dacos, a couple of players. They just played the whole quarter, like the whole last quarter. They played 100% game time, and there'll be certain other players like fullbacks often play 100% game time as well, or 98% if you're in the back line, and. Yeah, so it's fascinating. Obviously, they're not kicking goals, so they don't get a chance to come off. They're like, I really need to rest, but I haven't kicked a goal
yet.
Actually,
like if a backman like that does happen to sneak forward and kick a goal, do they come off?
Because they probably run further and they're probably tired.
Well, they've come all the way from the back line to kick it, and then they've probably got to run again.
It's like running from fine leg to fine leg when you're playing cricket, isn't it?
I don't even know what that is. Did you spot the cricket fan?
That's it. Up next on We Should Run The AFL, cricket. Alright, love it. Yeah, awesome. So that's just, as we say, if anyone knows why it happens, or if anyone's frustrated by it as well, let us know and just chat, because it's just something that I remember Taylor Adams used to play for Collingwood, and he kicked like a great snap goal and then would sprint off. Like, he wouldn't even stop after kicking it. He'd just keep running to the boundary. And I'm thinking, this is the guy who pulls a hamstring every second week as well. So what are you doing? Slow down. But I just found it bizarre. Like, so pumped up, so excited. And obviously, like a full forward wouldn't necessarily run off after they kick a goal. But then you look back to in the 90s, so going back a while, when Darren Jarman kicked like 5 goals in the second half of the grand final and stuff like that. And you're not taking him off.
And there's the one that we always talk about with Didac against West Coast when he kicked 3 in a minute or whatever it was. And imagine if you took him off after the first one.
Right? That just doesn't happen. And so you think about how much... And I remember listening to that, and I think it was Jason Dunstall in commentary. He's like, this is why you don't do it. Imagine if you took Dunstall kicked a goal, had to go off the ground.
Never would have got to 17 or whatever he got to.
That's right. And that's him leading hard, fake leading, going back, leading his 4th lead, taking the mark, getting bashed, rolling in the mud, kicking the goal.
Exactly.
And he has to stay on. Yeah. So really strange. So we would actually love Craig McRae if you're around.
Or any coach.
But we like you better. Yeah. Come on and tell us. And we would, at some point, we'd love that to be a guest. Someone, I think we said last week, someone from a club. Come on, and we'd love to ask these sort of questions and just find out why it happens.
Yeah.
They may be like, I don't know.
But there could also be a really good reason. And we know that, okay, that makes perfect sense there. Thank you.
That's all we want, especially with a lot of this confusion around rules and around tactics and things like that. If someone says to us, this is why we do it, you just go, all right. Or we go, it's still dumb.
Yeah.
Leave them on the ground.
I think we're going to be more the second sort of reaction, to be honest. I think that's
still dumb.
I reckon we'll knowing us, we'll probably lean towards that regardless. But I'd love to know why. And conversely, if there's anybody out there who thinks it's great for whatever reason, we don't want to hear about it. No, send it through. We'd love to hear about it. But that's the 2 topics.
That's it. We're keeping it brief this week, but we have got one little thing. Last week we finished off. I think we spoke about 10 minutes after, but we tried to finish off with rules we should keep, add, or
change.
This week we're going to do a bit of a love it or hate it. Love it or hate it this week.
So we've got two things that we're going to do.
It's real short and sharp.
It is. So the first one, day, night or twilight grand final. So day grand final.
Love it.
I love it too.
Yep.
Night grand final.
I'm not opposed to it. Like I didn't mind. Was it 2020 or something?
Yeah.
It was insane. So I don't mind it. And I love the Super Bowl. Love the everything there. All that.
But Bonanza, love it or hate it. We haven't got don't mind it as an option. So love it or hate it.
Day grand final, love it. Night grand final, I reckon I'd love it as well. And I wouldn't mind a little alternate.
Okay.
Every second year you do a different one.
Yeah. I love the idea of a night one.
Yep. What about twilight?
Twilight. Look, actually, I'm fine with that. I love it as well. Yeah.
Really?
I'm fine with it.
I'm not. I'm a hate it for twilight. I reckon one or the other. Keep the whole game just in the one thing for a grand final. I think you keep it in the one thing for me.
I love the spectacle of nighttime. So I don't mind the twilight from the perspective that you get some nighttime component to it.
Yep.
Especially for the team that wins, you can have the fireworks.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. So I quite like it for that.
I
want fireworks. And they don't work during the day. They just don't work. But I still love the day ones because it's all we've ever had. But
I want them to do fireworks like after have a morning grand final. Like instead of a twilight, have like a dusk. I don't know what's it, dawn grand final, a brunch grand final. Finishes at 1 o'clock, so we got all night, all afternoon, all night to celebrate. Fireworks at 1 o'clock.
And think of it from the AFL perspective. How much money they make doing it over lunchtime?
Right.
They make a fortune. I mean, they make enough probably as it is with the food sales, but if you got it over lunch...
Start that grand final at 11:30.
Yeah. And if it's a brunch and you have a team like Melbourne with the stereotype of who they are, it'd be perfect for them.
I love it. A brunch grand final.
Yeah.
Jolly good.
I love it. So like an 11 o'clock start?
Yeah, 11:30 around there. So you still have your breakfast. You have a bit of a sleep in, get to the ground, between 9 and 10 and stuff like that, and sit around, get ready. Pre-game is at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So all the pop stars and rock stars just love getting up early for it. Pre-game, 10 o'clock. Game starts at 11.
Love it.
You're done by 1:30. You got the day.
Yep.
Oh man, imagine the chaos by 8 o'clock that night if the game finished at 1:30. Even better.
It would be brilliant.
Oh,
just
all right.
The whole city would be pumping. It'd be incredible.
Be pumping.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and for people who don't like the AFL, it's done by lunchtime.
Yeah.
Or for people who maybe their spouse likes the AFL and they don't, done by 1:30.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got them back for the afternoon.
No, I love it. So that's one thing that's never been brought up is a morning grand final.
Brunch grand final.
Yeah, love it.
Excellent.
Love it.
Okay, what's our second one?
And our second one is this probably deserves its own episode to be honest.
I think we will. Yeah.
But this one is the pre-final break, the week off.
Yep.
So the week between the end of the regular home and away season and the start of the finals.
Yep.
So love it or hate it.
I kind of was either way. I'm gonna go to hate it, even though I don't hate it. I'm more that.
You want to don't mind it, don't you? You still want that as an
I
option.
don't mind it because I kind of like you can get players fit for finals. I like that. But in saying that, and this again could be a whole episode, I'd be more straight into the finals, week off before the grand final.
Yeah.
Especially with concussion stuff now.
Yes.
So if someone gets concussed in a prelim, they're potentially going to be okay to play in the grand final. Because at the moment they're not. And then the two teams that have made it, get a week off, we're going to get just those teams able to just go at it. What about you?
Yeah, I hate it.
There's no don't mind about it.
I hate it, but I agree with you. I'd be open to a week off before the grand final.
Yeah.
And that's when you have the Brownlow and all the awards and everything in that week.
Yeah, so that weekend, the game's not on. Yeah, you've got the Brownlow there.
Yeah, and you can do like the VFL grand final and all the Sandful and whatever else they have. I think they're all changing all that anyway. But you'd have all those sorts of things happening then.
Yeah.
And make it a real celebration. I know, look, I love my American sport, so I know it's coming into a lot more of that NFL thing, which is what they do. They have that 2-week break between before the Super Bowl. And I quite like they do a lot of the media then. It gives them a real break. And I know there's the traditional side of it, but you could still have the grand final parade in that week. It doesn't stuff it up for an interstate team if they've got to travel to Melbourne, they have to come earlier because of all these things. They can come, they can go back, and still,
That's the thing, you could have that parade even a week earlier, so it's actually more routine for the interstate teams to come over 1 week, go back, and then or stay for the week or whatever they want to do. But it brings up an interesting point, and again, maybe because this could be a full episode, but even if they keep the pre-finals bye, do the Brownlow that week instead of waiting for the week before the actual grand final, because then if a player who's potentially going to win, they're out of the finals, they can be off overseas. Like they can do the Brownlow before the finals, they can be off and have their time off. But also even the players in the grand final who eventually make it, they can do that. It's out of the way. They don't have to think about it. They don't need that night before. So I reckon even that's something that could come if they keep. I think that celebration of footy, even whether it's before the grand final or the finals, just do all that awesome stuff then. All Australian, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And the AFL probably would love to get rid of all the Mad Mondays. So if you're doing the Brownlow on the Monday, Mad Monday's gone.
That's right. It's Terrific Tuesday.
Or Wacky Wednesday.
Wacky Wednesday. And that's why we should run the AFL.